Five Nights at Freddy's has a surprising amount of games. I mean, think about it. There's like 17 games, not even including the troll games. And on top of that, you have to think about the over 30 books and then throw a movie series on top of all that. Among these 17 games, some of them are insanely, remarkably good, and the others are Freddy in space. So today, I'm going to be ranking all 17 of them, and none of the troll games because they're dumb. Before this video starts, I just want to let you know that I made a Discord server. Some of you have been asking for it, so here it is. Link in the description if you want to join. Alright, starting us off is FNAF 1. I've talked about my thoughts on this game way back on my first video in the channel, and a lot of the points I've said on that video still stands to today. I think FNAF 1, all things considered, is a good game. I think it has issues with how it paces its nights and how the graphics don't really hold up to today, but the game does have so many mechanics that it introduced into the gaming scene, and it's genuinely scary, unlike some of the other games in the series. For these reasons alone, I'm going to give it A tier. Next up is a kind of controversial entry, that being FNAF 2. I've seen FNAF 2 as either loved or hated by the community. Personally, I really like FNAF 2. I think it introduced a lot of interesting gimmicks that play off what was already built in FNAF 1. I like how Scott built off the four main characters and expanded it into a more chaotic experience rather than more strategic as seen in FNAF 1. The character designs in this game are also phenomenal, so I'm going to give FNAF 2 S tier. FNAF 3 has really good mechanics with the lures and the vent seals. The camera-heavy gameplay really inspired my fan game named Amazon Arcade. FNAF 3 makes you feel like a security guard, which I really feel like the other ones don't do as well. What a better villain to match all this than William Afton himself. The maintenance panel also enhances this gameplay even more, and I just love it so much. However, I just think the game is too easy. FNAF 3, I think, is usually overhated. However, I'm going to give it a B tier. Next we have my personal favorite game out of the original 4, being FNAF 4. It takes the fear of FNAF 1 and cranks it up to 11. I just love the idea of having to play in pure silence and listen for tiny cues that the monsters leave behind, waiting in anticipation for the inevitable jump scare. Some people say the character designs are too over the top and they feel like they're trying to be too scary, but I think they match the environment and the nightmare feel perfectly. This game also has the most things to look at outside of the main 5 nights. It comes with a bonus 6th night like all the other games, but it includes a 7th night being the return of Nightmare Mode, in an even harder challenge with 420. On top of that, it also includes bonus challenges you can enable, and finally a Halloween mode, which this time actually changes the character designs, and the final boss fight as a whole by switching it from Nightmare to Nightmare On. This game is perfect in my opinion. Everything from gameplay to story is nothing but perfection. So I think this game deserves nothing but S tier. Regarding the Halloween mode, I think it was a good addition for this game as it is the scariest and it brings back some familiar faces like Mangle, the Marionette, and Bloom Boy, and all their designs, in my opinion, are fantastic. However, since it is just a reskin and it doesn't add any new content like Dreadbear, I'm going to give it a B tier. It just feels unfair to give a reskin a higher rank than an actual game. Now comes the true controversial game. FNAF World was torn into shreds at release because fans were expecting FNAF 5 rather than a cute RPG. However, looking back at it, I think FNAF World is a good game for what it is. It reminds you of all the characters you might have forgotten about in the first 4 games, and it's kind of like a care package for the fans. I've been playing it on my streams. Thank you to everyone who paid a visit to them. Considering the randomness of the secrets, I'm going to give FNAF World a B tier. Next up is Sister Location. I think Sister Location was crucial in the fact that it helped explore other gameplay aspects than just sitting in an office and clicking buttons. I think the character designs and overall feel of this game is really good. However, it was lacking gameplay-wise. Some of the minigames, like the Funtime Freddy minigame, are insanely boring and stupidly difficult. This is the issue with the Spring Luck minigame on Night 4 too. However, I think the return of Custom Night saved this game. The Custom Night is well built and has interesting mechanics. I also like how those mechanics are more out there like in UCN, rather than the more normal mechanics like in FNAF 2. For this game, I'm going to place it in top of B tier. Next up is the ultimate psych of a game to ever exist, which is FNAF 6, aka Pizzeria Simulator. I think this game combined the cute arcade feeling of FNAF World and the scary and difficult feeling of the first 4 games into one amazing game. It introduces new and old characters in a true send-off for all the ones that were still alive at this point. In my opinion, it symbolizes the ending of the original games and the dawn of new and more intuitive experiences. Everything this game has to offer earns it a place in A tier. Similar to FNAF 6, UCN has a similar feeling in my opinion. Kinda like FNAF World, I think this game was made to be a care package and a send-off for all the Scott-made games, and into the Steel Wool / Illumix era. It allows you to see all your favorite faces from the past 4 years in a difficult and thrilling game. Even if the jump scares aren't too good, it still is special and deserves a B tier in my opinion. The first game to not be made by Scott and instead Steel Wool is Help Wanted. I like the decision to dip their feet into VR and try something new, and it totally paid off for them. I think FNAF AR, as stated in my Help Wanted video, is one of the scariest FNAF games. I don't really know if it's scarier than FNAF 4, but the feeling of being in front of these machines and have them really trying to kill you personally is one of the scariest feelings. Some of the game modes in it are a little buggy or unfair, like most of the Night Terrors, but I still think this game deserves A tier. Next up is the Dreadbear DLC, which in my opinion is the best FNAF DLC to ever exist. Every game mode gives a good challenge while still being fun. The Halloween setting also just enhances this DLC even further. Plus the fact that it introduces the idea of vanity and gives us a look into Fall Fest definitely gives this game S tier. That may seem like a bold claim, but play the Grim Foxy minigame and then come back to me. Next up is what I would consider one of the worst FNAF games. That being FNAF AR. AR was just trying to get the same popularity that other AR games were getting, like Pokemon Go, but I just think FNAF AR is plain unfun. I think the skins for the characters are also pretty lame, and I just don't see anything with mobile games as a whole. Plus the fact that the servers were discontinued should probably give you a clue. Sorry AR, but you're gonna get D tier. Next is the sequel to a minigame in FNAF World, which is Freddy in Space 2, which I consider to be the first of 3 Scott-made games that aren't meant to be taken seriously. Unlike the other ones, I haven't actually played this one, but I have a pretty good understanding of it from streamers and YouTubers. The art style of this game is nothing like we've seen before, and I actually don't hate it. I like the idea of having every board be representative of an animatronic and having every boss and enemy themed after that. The biggest issue I have with this game is the fact that it was made for a charity stream, which means Scott made it insanely hard, so it would take a while to beat for the stream. Given the buggy nature of this game, I'm also going to place it in C tier. This next game is also a funny game like Freddy in Space 2. This one is Security Breach Fury's Rage. It's a beat-em-up game similar to those you would see in the 90s, and given its simplicity, it's really not that bad. It was made to give the community something to chew on while Security Breach was being made, so it doesn't really have too much significance, and there's not much to say about it, so I'm just gonna give it D tier and move on. After Fury's Rage is Security Breach. Even though Security Breach is a buggy mess and it can be really annoying at times, I think it's a really good game. Glamrock animatronics designs are really good, and I like the return of Music Man. My biggest problem with this game is the Afton ending. In my opinion, they should have kept Afton and his legacy dead and replaced him with a new villain that can start a new era of FNAF games. That main point is the only thing holding it back from S tier, so I'm going to have to give it A tier. Next up is the Ruin DLC. A lot of people disagree with me on this one, but I do not like Ruin. I think the character designs and jump scares specifically are really good, and everything with Roxy and her storyline in this game is also good. The thing I'm not a fan with is everything to do with the digital masks, including Mixless. I feel like if the game took a different approach, it would have been a lot better. Another thing I don't like about it are the endings. The last chase with the Mimic is cool, but the Brazil ending needs a lot more explanation. I mean, really, what does this even mean? The ending with Gregory kinda comes out of nowhere with the elevator drop, and the mascot ending makes no sense. I feel like they really dropped the ball on the endings, and they could have made them a lot more simple and effective instead of using a confusing, symbolic ending. I'm going to give Ruin an E tier. Next up is the third and final game that fits into the Scott-made trilogy, that being FNAF the Movie the Game, aka Freddy in Space 3. This game was made for the sole purpose to give teasers towards the movie, so gameplay and whether or not the game is actually good doesn't matter too much. I do think the map names are pretty funny, I guess, but that doesn't excuse its lack of good gameplay. I'm going to give Freddy in Space 3 a D tier. Well, last but not least, we have Help Wanted 2. Now, unfortunately, I haven't played this one, but I do think the minigames it includes are very interesting, and it does have a major graphic quality step up from the first game. I do also like the sort of ARG that was happening when the game first released, because no one really knew how to get the harder endings, and every day something new was being discovered. However, similar to Ruin, I think the thing that holds it back the most is the endings. They imply something without directly telling you, in the sort of symbolic way that Ruin did it, and I'm still not a fan of these endings. It's different different in the way games did it, like FNAF 3, where what it's implying is a lot easier to understand and requires a lot less assumptions than the endings in Help Wanted 2. However, that does not hold back the fact that Help Wanted is a great game, so I'm going to give it a B tier. 4 pages into the script, I finally have this list, and what do you think? Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm a genuine buffoon? Tell me in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time. Also remember to join the Discord, link in